Thank you, Barry. That's very nice. And Barry is one of our developers who the goal of our team at Google is to basically, I put it very simply, make sure developers are successful because that's how Google is successful. No ifs, ands, or buts. So specifically, our business development team works with partners such as yourselves in the room to get their apps and games on Google Play and in the hands of teachers, students, consumers, parents, what have you. So as Barry said, hi, I'm Shazia Makhdumi. So my team specifically within Google Play works for developers who create apps and games for the educational market. I call it reaching kids whether they're at school or at home. And we recently launched Google Play for Education in the UK. We had it we launched in the US about a year and a couple of months ago. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that, and then also, of course, talking about Android in general. By the way, how many people here have heard of Google Play for Education? Okay, so a fair number. Good, good. The marketing team is doing its job, but should be higher. Okay. So some of the stats, you guys have probably seen this in some way, shape, or form, but Android is popular, which we like a lot. And in fact, from the early days, we launched in 2008, the original G1 to a few thousands of users, to now where it's, I think, the most popular mobile computing platform in the world, accounting for 3 out of 4 smartphones. And also recently, it's been great to see the tremendous momentum on the tablet side. We have about 3 out of 5 and growing tablets running the Android OS. But it's all very well to talk about market share. What is the market size is also important. And by the way, how many people here have an Android phone or tablet? Okay, good. So you're part of the 1 billion active devices on the chart. So the aggregate size has also grown a lot. So in fact, this last year, we crossed the 1 billion threshold, which is a great mark. And it's also growing in the right direction with the right curve for those who are, enjoy math and gradients and etc. So we've been focused on a lot of exciting areas. We talked about tablets, etc. But we also want to get more people using Android. So when we think about that, right, looking at emerging markets, for example, right now, even with that scale, you only have 1 in 4 people with an Android, who own a smartphone today. And we want to get Android into the hands of kind of the next 5 billion who are coming online. And also, when you think about emerging markets, right, and it's these are some of, especially for children, the technologies, etc. Their entree into the digital world is going to be initially probably more from devices like phones and tablets than it'll be from PCs, which is kind of when as we grew up. And so Android One, which is an initiative we launched last year to bring high quality smartphones accessible to emerging markets, to countries like India, like Indonesia, like Philippines, etc. So besides also expanding geographically, we're also looking at new opportunities. So for example, we start with phones and tablets, but looking for Android in cars, Android on sort of watches. So I have my lovely Android watch, which does a lot, except I'm like, well, where's the time? And then also, we think about the wearable market, TVs, living rooms. So trying to get Android into basically all the different places where we can imagine users would connect to the internet, would want to have digital content. So there's a lot of greenfield opportunities we see in these areas. By the way, how many people here are creating content for for beyond sort of phones and tablets to thinking about other device types? Okay. So again, opportunities here, and sort of if you're interested, definitely chat with me. Really excited to see what you guys would be able to do. But at the end of the day, right, why anyone would want any of these devices or would be interested in Android is because of all the content made by people in the room, sort of, people like you guys. Otherwise, it's someone put it very nicely, shiny paperweight, and that's about all. So the content, etc., it needs the apps and games from you guys to really help it come alive. And sort of on that front, does anyone know what this number is? Say again? Yes. What does it represent? Maybe I should have asked it that way. So this is the payout that Google Play made out to developers sort of just in the last year. And this is actually 2.5 times higher than the number from the year before. So, contrary to public opinion, Google Play does make money for developers, and we want to continue making sure it's on the right trajectory and sort of there's more of it. In fact, as we provide this commerce platform for Play, we're also seeing 2/3 of our purchases happen outside the United States, sort of interestingly, and international sales are continuing to climb. And we also are thinking about how do we enable more people, especially internationally, to pay. We launched PayPal support a few months ago, and we have PayPal currently in 12 countries and growing. We also enabled carrier billing, which lets people charge their purchases to their carriers. And then also we're launching direct carrier billing in 25 markets, but also we're hard at work launching gift cards, which especially when you think about the children's market is something that's sort of very popular there. So we have gift cards for sale in about 18 countries and sort of growing. So that's on the Android platform side. So let me talk a little bit specifically about Google Play for Education and then how to leverage sort of the platform to get apps and games into the hands of students and teachers. So basically what it is about helping moments like this happen. And what that represents is not just, people with a device, just, people, kids having a device when parents can want some free time to themselves, but kids actually engage, where things are clicking and they're actually using the content, they're feeling interested, they're capable, they're learning. And that is more and more what we want to do and why we built Google Play for Education as a separate store, in fact, to get content scalably into the hands of teachers and administrators, and then eventually to classrooms everywhere. So, of course, first and foremost, it takes a great teacher. I mean, we know that, and people across the school who really help make that happen. But what they need also to help them, right, is having a core platform that makes it seamless to adopt the technology, devices that are affordable and intuitive and delight the users, and then also, most importantly, the content from developers like the ones in the room to help make those magic moments that I just showed earlier happen and help kids learn, right? And so what Google Play for Education is a platform with a choice of devices that are at a price point and form factor that enable schools to be able to deploy it one-to-one or two-to-one. The setup and management that takes the headache off IT, and a huge selection of both apps and games and videos and books running on both tablets as well as Chromebooks, since a lot of schools also have investments in those that are approved by educators to work in the classroom. And then the tools that enable the teachers to actually use these in the classroom and get the right content at the right time in front of students. So how is Google Play for Education then winning the hearts and minds within the education community, right? And how there's obviously a process to this in terms of finding and choosing the right apps, piloting them, then buying them at scale and making sure that they work in the classroom and making that investment across grade, a district, sort of just across the state perhaps. So we make it really easy for educators to find apps. So they can browse by subject, by grade, by classroom activity, in the US by Common Core standard, right, to find the right content. So as they look at the apps and games you guys have created, they can read the detailed reviews, especially reviews from other teachers, since teachers really care about what other teachers think. They can get a view, a copy of the app to try it out for themselves and see if that's going to work for them. And in fact, some of our educators, as I was mentioning, really care about opinions of other teachers. So we found this out. I think no social network has, comes close to the teacher network of sharing information on great apps. So we actually work with a third party composed of teachers to curate the apps in the Google Play for Education store, and it gives them the right metadata for the subject, the grade, the classroom activity, and also reassures teachers that other teachers think that this is a useful app to use in the classroom. And then I talked about also the, taking the strain off the IT department and the management part of it. So as you know, like school does not necessarily have a credit card, right? Individual teachers do, and sometimes they end up purchasing content that, they wait a lot for reimbursement by. So having recognized that, we've also enabled schools to be able to use purchase orders for purchasing, and so that they can get the content in a timely fashion without waiting for a lot of administrative red tape. We also allow them to purchase in bulk for the classroom and then provision with a couple of clicks, so they get the content into the hands of the right students. And then they can also manage the apps better. So let's say if a student has left the district, but they've already purchased licenses to content, they're able to then reassign those licenses to new students coming in, or even share what they have purchased with other teachers who may want to use some of the unused licenses, or even recommend to other teachers that they try the apps that they, individual teachers trying. So a lot of teacher driven controls and ability to find, discover, to browse, to try, etc. So again, to recap, we're trying to remove the barriers to implementing digital technology and getting your content faster in the hands of educators and students, helping them find the right apps and games, also the right books, videos, etc., to help teachers, teach students in the classroom and really focus on that and not on the technology. One of the questions, though, that I hear a lot is, well, having said all that, what should we be focusing on, right? What is the right content? What is the content that teachers are looking for? And time again, we've heard a focus on kind of the 4 C's and 21st century skills. So creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, communication. So again, apps and games that reinforce these 4 C's and also helps the kid develop work habits, which are just as important and valuable as sort of the material that they're learning. So there's a lot of, and I see this sort of internationally, not just in the US. We launched, as I was saying, Google Play for Education last couple of weeks ago in the UK. And so there's a lot of emphasis on these skills and getting students prepared for, teaching, managing, leading, learning in the 21st century. So a lot of resources, developer.android.com/distribute on some of the, well, developer.android.com, hopefully. How many people have spent some time on the site? Okay, so less than I would hope, but how many people here, by the way, are app and game developers? Should have asked that in the beginning. Okay, about 1/3 to a half. So anyway, so we have a lot more information there, and in fact, we have there's a handbook that want to, as you leave, we have there's secrets to finding success in play. So this is not the holy grail that, of course, if you implement all of this, there's it's automatically, without doing anything, the app is going to be number one, live there. But it's some of the things we look for and some of the things we've noticed in apps and games that have been successful, what's worked, and suggestions on adapting and implementing that for yourselves. I guess that is it for my sort of presentation and remarks, and I'd love to open it up for questions. Dylan.
Wearables, the intersection between kids and education, and if so, how? I know that's kind of a little outside of that.
No, it's a good question. Actually, I was thinking of that as I was looking at the slide, and so part of that was also to talk about, just show the growth in Android. But my 6- and 7-year-old are constantly wanting, they don't understand why they can't have an Android watch too. But I think as kids, especially older kids, they have phones, and they're devices that automatically sort of make sense for kids to have. For example, a lot of older kids have watches. I think that is probably going to be an area where we'll see a penetration into the kids market, probably before we see it in autos. since the age for driving license is going to be the age for driving license. Barry.
Maybe you can't answer this, but
Technical difficulty here.
do you think we'll see a day where we can distribute the same application on Chromebooks and Android devices, integrated binaries?
So the question is around, if you have the same app, could you, without doing a whole lot more to it, could you have that present on Chromebooks or on tablets?
Yeah.
At last year at I/O, we announced Android runtime for Chrome. So precisely to to address this issue, because we don't feel that developers should need to have to develop multiple versions of their app to run on at least the Google platforms that there are. And so we launched about, I think there was 4 apps on this, and we're launching more. So this is gaining momentum, but yes, the answer to that is yes. We hope to have that at some point. I can't say what point, but at some point this year, we hope to have that. Currently, we're trialing that for free apps, and we're getting paid apps on the platform soon. And why this is important especially is because in the educational market, as some of you probably have seen the stats, we also have high penetration, especially in the older grades of Chromebooks. And so getting content on those devices to educators makes sense. And we don't want schools to have to think about purchasing the same copy twice for different devices.
Question for you. In the education space, for those applications that are dedicated only to ed tech, if they're only going to be used within the education context, COPPA compliance maybe is not an issue for you. But there are applications, I believe, within Google Play, Google Mail for one. If that student were to use that application at home, outside of the education context, you need parental consent to be compliant with COPPA. Can you tell me how Google's dealing with this?
So the question is, how does Google deal with compliance for
Yes, how do they?
apps?
Yes.
Okay. So COPPA compliance is really important, as you know, for sort of all content, whether you're reaching kids through schools or home, actually. So either way, it matters. We leave COPPA compliance in the hands of the developer who's developing the app to say, is this, the developer has to certify, yes, this app is, complies with the regulations for being in the store, for reaching out to kids, etc. So if it's an app that targets kids, we've actually found that a lot of developers are very responsible about that and make sure that their app is COPPA compliant. But Google does not do any checks, etc. on that. It would be the whole point about Google Play was to, as given the history sort of and background, it started off, and it still is, a very open platform, right? So unlike other platforms where you've got to wait for weeks to get the app reviewed before it can get in the store, anyone can publish an app on Play. We don't want to lose the openness on the platform. On the other hand, we want to make sure that the content there complies with regulations. And so we trust that our developers who are creating apps for the particular user base that they are going to make sure that their apps are compliant. Anyone else? Wow. Cool. No? Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys very much. And if you have questions, definitely come up to me. Hopefully this was useful and informative. And I really look forward to seeing all the great content the developers in the room are creating for kids. It's something that's personally so satisfying to me. I have a 6- and 7-year-old, and it's wonderful seeing the really cool things they can do versus it just being what someone once called a digital pacifier. And please don't forget to collect a copy of the developer handbook that we have at the right to my right. Thank you.